All right, great. So let's start in child's pose. And we're just going to do a little grounding, centering there. So if child's pose is not your jam today, feel free to take something else. That's totally fine. And in child's pose, you can have your knees really wide, you can have them really close, you can have them in between. So maybe just exploring for yourself what feels right today. Your arms could be forward or by your hips. Ideally, forehead touching something that could be your hands or a block or the ground. And just taking a couple of deep breaths to check in with how you're feeling and what you might need. You might find that you're wanting to do a little bit of fidgeting into whatever this first shape is for you. Movement is totally welcome. I find sometimes I need it in order to access stillness. I don't like to force myself to be still, especially not right away. I'm just noticing initially whatever it is that comes up for you, whatever you're noticing. Beginning to acknowledge the earth and the land beneath you. Acknowledging your relationship to the land, your cultural and historical relationship, as well as your intimate, immediate relationship, how you feel in this place in the world, how it affects you, how you're in relationship with it. And that can include your community as well, the people around you. Just noticing yourself as a part of the web of everything and observing what that feels like today. Maybe taking a moment just to notice if there's a particular intention that you're holding with you already, or that maybe your body is offering. And you may notice that your ujjayi breath is already happening if it's pretty familiar for you. Otherwise, you can invite it. So it's that nice, long, slow whispering sound at the back of the throat. And you can imagine that you're kind of folding your intention in to your breath. And you may be finding that you want to remain in that relatively still place a little bit longer, a lot longer. Or you might find that you're ready for some movement. So you can come up to hands and knees if you like and take some cat and cows. And this can be very intuitive. So generally it's inhaling into a little back bend and exhaling to round the spine. But it could also be shifting forward and back. It could be circles with the spine. It could be done seated. You could already be up in your downward dog. So I encourage you just to close your eyes and kind of let your body lead, let your breath lead. Surrendering into what feels good rather than what you think you're supposed to do. And downward dog is there just when you feel ready to come into it. So when that moment comes, you can take your hands a bit farther forward, a little farther apart maybe. Tuck the toes and lift the hips. So the idea is that your weight is working towards the back of your body. So you're kind of pushing the floor forward with your hands. The shoulders are nice and deep into their sockets. Elbows are unlocked, but they're straight. And again, depending on how you're feeling today, maybe you're just still in the pose, maybe like me, you're bending one knee at a time, swaying your hips side to side, shaking your head. And staying with that breath, staying really present with what it feels like to be in your body. And that doesn't have to be positive or negative, it just is what it is. And in your own time, coming up into a standing forward bend, feet as wide as you like them to be. And just take whatever variation works for you today. So my favorite changes day to day. So elbows resting on knees is nice. Holding up opposite elbows and hanging down. Hands on the ground or blocks. Stillness or movement. The only thing that you don't want to do in a standing forward bend is lock your knees. So you want to make sure that they're unlocked or even quite bent, which takes the pressure out of the lower back. But beyond that, you can really just explore what feels good. Move if you want. Be still if you want. And this is one of those places where we can be sort of seeking pleasure, really, like what is the shape that feels delightful or pleasurable in my body today? The idea of delight or pleasure in the body might be kind of weird or foreign to think about. So, that's something that we could experiment with or practice with. May or may not find that you're meeting it today. That's okay. And then we'll roll up, gather in your belly, lean back into your heels, knees generously bent as we curl up. Shoulders can roll onto the back. Again, knees soft, shoulders soft. Maybe you're coming up in a few breaths, maybe quicker, maybe slower, just taking your time. And when you get to the top, you might take a moment with your eyes closed to just see how you could stand with every part of your body working just a little bit, so no particular part has to work very hard. So it's kind of a soft, easeful standing. And when you're ready, we'll come into our Surya Namaskar. So next time you inhale, let's reach the arms up. Exhale, diving down over the legs. Halfway lift, draw forward. And step your right foot behind you. You can have the knee up or down. I usually like to start with the knee down. Low lunge, reaching the arms up to the sky. And then downward facing dog, connecting the palms and stepping back. You come forward to plank on or off your knees. You can lower all the way down, or you could stay up high and do a cat and cow. If you're okay to come to your belly, just lowering down on your exhale, point your toes, and on your inhale, take a little cobra, just lifting the chest, and then exhaling back to downward dog. On an inhale, your right leg will go up towards the sky. Hips could open or not. Exhale to step the foot through. Helps a lot to lift the left heel really high. High or low lunge, reaching your arms up, pressing the hips gently forward, and then exhaling to the top of the mat. Lengthen halfway, and melting forward and down. And then the knees rising all the way up to standing. You could lean back a little at the top if you want, and then all the way back down as you exhale. Halfway lift, draw forward. Left foot steps back. Inhaling into your lunge. And exhaling to downward dog. Taking your Vinyasa, coming forward to plank. You could lower all the way down, or maybe it's a little push-up. Again, you can use your knees if you want. And then pull your heart through to cobra or maybe upward dog. And then downward facing dog as you exhale. On your inhale, left leg rises, so there's no rush. And step through. Again, helps to lift the right heel. Inhale to rise. Beautiful. And then forward bend at the top of your mat. Lengthen and melt. And the knees rising all the way up. And then hands to heart as you exhale. When you're ready, begin again, reaching the arms up and fold. Lengthen. Right foot back. Inhale to rise. And downward dog. Through Vinyasa, the way that you like it. So coming forward to plank, lower down, or maybe it's a little push-up. Pulling through to your back bend, shoulders down the back. And downward dog. Right leg will rise. And through. Inhaling. And forward bend. Lengthen. And soften. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. You can lean back a bit if you want. And then down. Lengthen. And left foot back. Inhaling. Down dog through a vinyasa that works for you, which could always be cat and cow. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling, shoulders back. And downward dog. Left leg to the sky. On your inhale, there's no rush. Take your time. Exhale through. Inhale. Beautiful. And then to the top of the mat. Lengthen. And fold. And the knees rise all the way up. And bring the hands together in front of your heart and just take a moment to feel, to receive. Good. Lift up your toes, spread them apart, reconnect them to the earth, and then bend your knees some amount and reach your arms forward and up again some amount. So gather the belly in. You want to have just a neutral back here. So you're not sticking your bum out overly, you're not tucking either, you're just in that kind of middle place. Okay, and I like to lift the toes up so that my weight is really in my heels. Okay, let's inhale. As you exhale, keep everything the same in the lower body, but just turn your upper body to the right. Reaching the arms up. And as you exhale, turn the body to the left as you open the arms. Good, inhaling through center. To the right, try to keep the lower body still. Through center and the left. Good, inhale through center. One more time each side. Again, just focusing on keeping the lower body still. Just gently moving the arms. Really nice. And then up through center, straighten the legs. Release the hands behind your back, interlace them. Or hook the thumbs, or just hands on hips with the elbows back is fine. Hug the elbows, lift the heart, opening the chest. On an exhale, you can fold forward, bending your knees, tipping your heart down, and allowing the fist to rise. Maybe there's a bit of movement here for you. Maybe you're just still. Inhale, and then as you exhale, gently let the hands come down the backs of the legs. Reach them forward, and then bend your knees so much that you could sit down. And if you can, try with no hands. But if you need your hands, of course, just use your hands. We're gonna roll down. If that doesn't feel safe, or if you're pregnant, just roll to your side first and then down, okay? Otherwise, just briefly as a transition, gathering the belly in, arms forward, rolling down. Nice work, okay? Take a moment just with your feet on the ground, knees pointing up to the sky, just feeling into the core. So keep your spine just nice and relaxed. Inhale. And as you exhale, gather your pelvic floor in and up, and hug your belly button towards your spine and up towards your heart. Okay, keep breathing. So your breath might be, well, it's basically ujjayi anyway, but into sort of the diaphragm, into the sides of the ribs, the back of the ribs, not so much into the lower belly. So keep that connection if you can. And another way to enhance it is to imagine that your hip points and your rib points in the front are all gathering together toward your belly button. Okay, from here, let's interlace the fingers around behind the back of the head and lift the shoulder blades up. If you're finding that's not working for you, just keep your head down. You can do the same things from here, okay? Inhale, and as you exhale, lift up your right foot. Inhale, put it back down. And then lift up your left foot and put it back down. So you guys know this one, this marching, most of you. Just nice and simple, lifting and lowering. The work is really about keeping that connection into the core as we gently move the legs. So it's not really a big dramatic movement, but I find it's incredibly useful for really sort of targeting those muscles in the abdomen that help to support the organs in the spine. Try to keep your face and your neck relatively relaxed and just keep that belly drawing in. So we'll take a couple more of these. This is a nice, relatively safe therapeutic core exercise. I'm a big fan of this one, as you guys probably know. Okay, we're just going to take one more round for now. And then when that's complete for you, we'll just relax. You can take soles of the feet together, knees open wide, or knees together, feet wide. Take a nice deep breath. Just taking a moment to consciously relax the belly and the pelvic floor, that area around the genitals. Letting the breath move down into the belly for the moment. Good. Okay. So let's just do one more core exercise. So place your feet on the floor again, just taking a moment to find those core muscles, inhaling. As you exhale, engaging pelvic floor, belly button drawing back, gathering in, okay? And then keep breathing. Your breath is gonna be a little more in the ribs, okay? You can lift your shoulder blades up off the mat, and you can choose to do that same marching again, or lift both of your feet up and connect the big toe mounds, or the sort of inside of your feet and the knees together as if you were holding with the loonie in between each of those places. Okay, as you inhale, the knees are going to slide just past the hips, keeping the shins parallel to the floor. And on the exhale, you're going to bring them in. Inhale, the knees slide past, not straightening the legs all the way, and bringing it. So flare the toes, okay? That can really, really help to engage the deep core line, which is not so much about the sort of abdominal muscles in the front, but really that deep supportive core. It's more functional. It's more important for, you know, feeling good in our bodies. And you could add on to this a little bit if you want to. So on the exhale, you could tilt your tailbone up off the ground a little bit. And you could add just a slight crunch of the upper body towards the knees. So you're just kind of curling in a little bit more. Okay, see if that works for you. You don't have to do that part. You don't have to do any of this, you guys. You just do what works for you. Okay, trying to really notice if you can be even on the two sides, hugging the two sides together. I'm also a huge fan of this one because it's not such a big, dramatic movement, but man, it gets me. I always feel that that deep core is working when I do this one. Usually I get a little shaking going on too. Okay, let's try for 4 more if you can. That would be 2 more rounds of the marching if you're doing that. Last one on my count, but follow yours. And relax. Soles of the feet together, knees up and wide, or knees together, feet wide. Whew, that one got me for sure. Taking some nice deep breaths, consciously softening pelvic floor, core. Receiving the effects of the core. For some of us, we kind of, the mood while we're doing it is like, oh, I hate this. And then afterwards it's blissful. Sometimes afterwards there's still a bit of that irritation feeling. So just being with whatever feeling is there for you. I really hated doing core for a long time, but now I'm not sure if pleasurable is the word that I'd use, but it feels good. It feels right to me to be working those muscles. And then let's take a nice stretch, just nice and simple. You can extend your legs, reach your arms up, point your toes, just stretching out the belly. And then we'll make our way back into a downward dog. So some of you will roll over to one side and kind of crawl your way to downward dog. You could also hug the knees in and rock and roll forward and back along your spine. You could even jump back if that's comfortable for you. You'd want to land with bent knees or bent elbows, okay? Or you're just making your way. And then take a vinyasa that works for you. So you could do plank, chaturanga, upward dog. You could do cobra. You could also do cat and cow, which is what I'm doing. And then we'll meet in downward dog. And then return to the top of the mat, standing forward bend. And then again, rise up. So you can roll up nice and slow, or you can sweep up if you prefer. Just returning to that standing place. Again, noticing what you might do to allow all of your body to work just a little bit so that no part of your body is working particularly hard. Just making it as easy on yourself as you can. And maybe noticing a little bit of a different sensation around the muscles of the core. Let's reach the arms up. Soften the knees again, doesn't have to be a deep bend. We'll just take a side stretch. So holding the holding the left wrist with the right hand, curving over. We'll do both sides, so don't worry about which side you're side bending to first. Up through center, and then just side bend the other way. So I'm just holding the right wrist, side bending to the left. And then up through center, bringing the hands together to touch in front of the heart in Anjali Mudra, which is the prayer mudra. And then bring your feet right together if you can. If that doesn't work for you, keep them wide, that's fine. Usually with pregnancy, we'd want the feet a little bit wider, okay? You can have a bit of space between your heels. Inhale, and then sink down into a chair pose. So you're just coming down kind of like we were doing before, but with the feet together. And you might find that same quality of just squeezing the knees a little bit that we were doing in the core a moment ago. Hugging the belly in. Inhale, and then you can simply twist your upper body to the left. And it does matter that you're going to the left, okay? Or some of you might want to come right down into Utkatasana twist. So you'd have your butt nice and low, your right elbow across your left thigh, and you're twisting way down low here. Okay, try to keep the knees together, belly gently hugging in, shoulders down the back. Okay, one more inhale. We're going to transition into lunge twist. So here's how we're going to do that. Lean your weight into your left foot and kind of de-weight your right foot. If you've got your knee on your elbow, really squeeze them together. Shoot the right leg back and land the knee. Okay, and if you're up in the higher twist, it's all the same stuff, you're just kind of stepping that foot back, yeah? And then stay in the twist that you've been doing if you can, so that's just turning to the side, or you've got your elbow across your thigh. Yeah, that was the right way to say that, pressing the elbow and thigh into each other, gently turning your heart to the sky, drawing the belly in, nice natural curve in the lower back, so it helps me a lot to press my hips forward. You can lift the back knee or not. And if you're up in the higher twist, I'd recommend just holding the right knee with, the front knee with the right hand and just stretching the left arm back. So it's going to be a little bit more of a opening to the chest you can play with. Wherever you are, hug the outer hips together. Okay, engage the right glute if you can. Inhale, and then we're transitioning into triangle. So gently release your hands to either side of your front foot. Pick up your back knee if it's down. Spin that heel to the earth, like you were gonna do warrior two. Walk your left hand up your leg a little bit, and then reach your right arm up to the sky. Yeah? Okay. So when we come down from below, sometimes the butt sticks back a little bit. So you might need to come up a bit higher, press your hips forward, and then sink back down, leaning your chest back and opening. Okay, have a little bit of a bend in your front leg. You can have your hand on your shin, but press your shin into your hand so you're not locking your knee. And breathe. Squeeze your bum, which will help to press your hips a little bit forward. Might give you a little more space to twist open to the sky. Okay, inhale, and then we're going to transition into exalted warrior. So you can use warrior two as kind of a transition, and I'm going to lengthen my stance a little bit, just kind of sink a bit deeper into it. And then that front hand, left hand is going to go up and back. Right hand can rest lightly on the back leg, or you could hold the back of the skull, which is a variation I often quite like. You could wrap your right hand around behind the back. However you like, this pose is great. Keeping your knee right over top of your ankle and breathing into your left side waist. Inhale, and then spin all the way down to downward facing dog, and optionally take whatever variation of vinyasa is working for you today. And you could always skip these and just hang out in downward dog or child's pose too. It's a little opportunity to reset. And then meet me on your belly if you can. If you're not on your belly, meet me on your left side. Just laying on your left side. Take a nice deep breath. And then bend your right knee. Reach back with your right hand and hold on to the foot. So you're staying down nice and low. I'm just resting my chin on my left hand. Okay. If you're laying on your left side, just bend your left knee a little bit, grab your right leg. Okay, press your hips into the mat, like you're trying to press your pubic bone down into the mat. Lengthen your left leg and hug your heel in towards your bum, resisting hand and foot a little bit against each other. So you should feel like a pretty delicious quadricep stretch right now. Gently release and we'll switch sides. So if you're laying on your side, just switch over to your other side. Bend your left leg, reach back with your left hand, hold your foot, press your pubic bone into the mat. So squeeze your bum, that will help. Lengthen your right leg so it's nice and strong. Hug your heel into your bum and just resist a little bit, foot and hand together. Not to make it harder, but you should feel the muscle kind of getting a little bit more of a stretch when you do that. Beautiful. And then we'll gently release that. Take a moment to rest. And if you've been laying on your side, you could come to sitting on your heels. If you're on your belly, maybe wobble your bum a bit from side to side and see if that feels good. Okay, and then just lengthening your legs, pressing the pubic bone down again. Interlace your fingers around behind your back or hook your thumbs or use your strap. And again, if you're not on your belly, you can do this in pretty much any seat. Just hugging those elbows together, lengthen the arms away from your head and your heart away from your arms. So you get this really nice long chest opening kind of shape, little bit of a lift through the spine. Just looking gently forward so the back of your neck is long. And it's not so much that we're trying to get some dramatic lift, but just that we're feeling that opening in the chest. And then gently release. And you can again take a rest on your belly, relax your bum. And if it feels good, you can do that little bum wiggle, wobble. And then make your way back towards child's pose. And then hands and knees. Spread your fingers nice and wide under your shoulders. Bring your knees together. You could do this one on fists, I think would be fine if your wrists are not so happy here, okay? Just nice neutral back, shoulders back, engaging the belly. Lift up your right heel to the sky behind you. And then bring your knee in, don't change anything about your spine. And then open it to the right side. And then back up to the sky. We're gonna do a few circles like that. So drawing the knee in, open to the side, and back up to the sky. And just try to keep everything nice and still, shoulders on your back. So it's just the leg moving in the hip socket. One more. And then bring the foot forward so that it comes between your hands. And you're in a lunge shape, but it's going to be a little bit more like a square lunge. So your hip is sort of right over the top of your back knee. So you may want to pad your knee for this one. We can get a fair amount of pressure on the knee. So I'm just going to grab my little prop. You could also double fold your mat. So you're in this shorter lunge than we would normally do, okay? I've got my back toes tucked under. Press into them a little bit. Draw the tailbone down, right hand to the thigh, reach the left arm up. Think of lengthening the spine and just get this lovely, again, quadriceps stretch going here. You can slightly press the hips forward. It should be plenty to kind of feel that lengthening. Okay, you can stay here or take that left hand around behind you, just onto your sacrum. Lift the heart, lean back a little bit. If that's feeling good, you could bring the hand down to your heel and reach the right arm up. This is called half camel. And then you could hold the back of your skull and lean back a little bit into it, squeezing the bum. And just any stage on that journey is perfect. Okay, on an exhale, bring your right hand back and then your left to your thigh if you can. Nice work, you guys. Take a breath. And then we're going to transition into pyramid pose. So you might want to use your blocks for this. You can take them to either side of your front foot, pick up the back knee and just step it in a little bit so that the heel lands and you're in a relatively comfortable hamstring stretch. So you can be up as high as you need to be on the blocks, okay? Or Tupperwares or whatever you've got. Lengthen your heart forward, draw that right hip back. You're welcome to stay up high, or you could fold, or you could flow, lengthening as you inhale and then gently melting. Beautiful. Okay, eventually look forward as you inhale and just simply gently step forward to the top of your mat. Halfway lift, fold, maybe fluttering out of your lips. And then again, rise up in your favorite way or your favorite way right now, which might be different from a few minutes ago. So you could sweep up, you could roll up, just what feels right in the moment for you. Returning to Tadasana, the standing witness pose. And we're moving asymmetrically today, as we often do. So just kind of noticing what it feels like to return to this place. Then bring the hands together at the heart, which is, among other things, a gesture of right and left half meeting in the middle. Bring the big toes to touch if that feels appropriate for your body. Lift the toes up, spread them apart, just get the feet nice and rooted. Squeeze the knees together if accessible. You can also do this with your feet wider and a block between them so you have something to squeeze if you need a wider stance. Sink your hips back, coming into that little chair pose kind of shape. Squeeze the knees, finding the glutes, finding the core, and just pressing the hands gently together to help keep your shoulders down. Okay, next time you exhale, you can turn your chest to the right, just nice and simple, or maybe you're sinking your hips down pretty much level with your knees and placing your left elbow on your thigh. So part of the key of this is keeping your knees in the same plane with each other. So try not to let that left knee slip forward. Hug the shoulders onto the back, nice long neck. This one I know is uncomfortable. Okay, so just try to breathe with it as best as you can. Okay, and then look down for balance. Lean into your right foot a little bit, de-weight your left. I like to think about hugging the knees together and then extending the left leg back and landing. Yeah, so you can have the knee down. Let's all have the knee down at least to start. Okay, and you can keep the elbow across if you're there or you're up in this twist here. Hugging those outer hips together, lifting the heart, twisting. Maybe lifting up the back knee. And if you're in this higher up one, maybe try a left hand on the thigh, right arm reaches back. That's going to be a little bit of a different sort of chest opening. Okay, and wherever you are, just imagine you can get longer through the two sides of your waist. This twist, I have a relationship with it, changes from time to time. Sometimes I really love it and feel like I need it, and other times I want to avoid it for a long time. Just checking in with where you're at, with how you feel about this shape. Just for one more breath. Nice, and then we'll gently release, and we're transitioning into triangle. So picking up the back knee, spin the heel down, climbing up the leg, reaching the left arm to the sky. And I like to kind of come up a bit and then down. Shoulders back, hips gently pressing forward. And I do have a bit of weight on my shin, but my shin is pushing back into my hand. So I'm not collapsing into my knee. And the weight there is actually kind of helping me to lengthen out the right side of my waist. I'm not just dumping into it, and I could lift my hand at any time and nothing else would change. So good. One more inhale, and then we'll come through exalted. So maybe just pausing in warrior two, which I'm going to lengthen my stance a little bit. Make sure my knee is over my heel. And then there's a reaching up and back. And there's several different variations of this, just nice and simple. Left hand down on the leg, reaching the right arm up. I often like holding the skull. Sometimes it's nice to do the half bind. Just see what works for you. Probably the same thing you did on the first side, if you can remember that far back. Inhale, and then spin all the way down to downward dog. So palms to the earth, step back, and then see what you need here. So any version of vinyasa is great, including rest. One of the things, vinyasa means literally, V means special, and nyasa means to place in Sanskrit. So vinyasa doesn't have to mean plank, chaturanga, up dog. It actually means a special place. It means a special way that you are placing your body, which for me is like what's right in this moment right now. Okay, let's meet on hands and knees. Bringing the knees together to touch. Spreading the hands, or this could be, fists is great for this one. Okay, shoulders back, just engaging the core. So the idea is stabilization for the body here. Bringing the left knee in, and then open, and then up to the sky. Left leg. So nice big circles, very deliberate, trying to keep everything else the same. Try to stay with your breath. One more time if you can. And then bring the knee in and step it forward into this nice little short kneeling lunge. And do feel free to pad your back knee because there's a fair amount of weight on it in this particular variation. Okay, so starting with just a nice simple shape here, tailbone lengthening, right glute ideally engaged, left hand is on the thigh, and just reaching the right arm up. So we're not trying to back bend right now. If anything, it's almost this feeling of kind of gathering the front in, lengthening the back ribs. And there's quite a lovely quadriceps stretch that you can get there, especially as you tilt the tailbone and maybe press the hips forward slightly, but that's almost invisible. And then if you like, we can take that into a little bit of a back bend. So you could start with the right hand on the sacrum, lifting the heart and just seeing what it feels like to lean back. Maybe the hand comes to the heel and the left arm rises up and back, holding the head. It's half camel, so it's a little asymmetrical, but try to keep the heart up to the sky. It's not turning to the side. Keep squeezing that right hip so everything's staying as stable as it can. Use your butt to support you. Dig your right toes into the earth. Left hand to the thigh, right hand to the thigh. Nice job, you guys. Just taking a moment to breathe, to feel, kind of inhaling into your back ribs. Whew. Good. And then when you feel ready, we'll transition into pyramid. So we're not trying to kind of dump into a big forward fold for the spine after that nice back bend. We want to take it nice and slow. So have your blocks as high as you need them. And I'm just lazy, so I'm not grabbing them right now, though I probably should. The foot goes a little bit wide, and you want to start with that nice long spine. So it's not, we're lengthening the hamstring, but it's not necessarily a forward bend for the spine yet. Drawing that left hip back. And you can stay here. Maybe you want to explore a little fold. Maybe it feels good for you to flow, lifting as you inhale and gently deepening as you exhale. And the rise and fall is just so nice for like stubborn areas, tension, partly because it helps to soothe the nervous system. Okay, and then next time you inhale, just lift and look forward. And then as you exhale, just gently bring the foot to the top of the mat, lengthen up halfway, exhale to fold. And I do recommend a nice slow rolling up here. So really take your time, let your head and shoulders be heavy, use your core to support you, rooting your feet into the ground, slowly rising, returning to that inquiry of easeful standing, balancing so that there's as little effort as possible. Okay, so feet hips distance apart from here. Lift your toes up, spread them apart and reconnect them. So again, thinking about just balancing. Lean your weight into your left foot, pick up your right foot and hold on to it behind you with one or both hands if you want. Okay, hug the knees a little bit together, draw the tailbone down and press that knee down towards the earth. So we've been kind of working with this shape in a few different ways. Okay, so just the quadriceps stretch is perfect. We've been preparing for dancer's pose. So if you want to try that, sneak your right hand to the inside of your foot. So you're taking the palm along the toenails so that the palm can face outward and the shoulder opens a little bit. I've got my left hand at my heart and I'm going to tuck my left ring finger into my thumb pad, bend the right leg a little bit, and then I'm pushing the foot into the hand and allowing my heart to tip forward, reaching the left arm forward. So kind of like with half camel, it is asymmetrical, but you want to think about heart aiming really forward, not to the side. Core gently engaged. Okay, and then gently come back through center if you can. Bring the knee in and then straighten the leg if possible, and then place it down. Nice job. And then we can shake it out. I often find I like to roll my toes too. Sometimes the toes grip a little bit when we're balancing. Last side of two, lifting your toes up, spreading them and placing them down, softening into the knees so you can kind of feel your balance. And don't be afraid to use a wall or a chair here if you want to work with a little bit more support in your balance. That's totally fine, okay? Lean right, pick up that left foot, and just start with the quadricep stretch that we've been working with, that kind of lengthening along the front side. Right hand could be at the heart. Sometimes I like holding with both hands for some of this. And maybe this is perfect. This is right where you want to stay. Maybe you're just kind of beaming your chest open a little bit more. Or take your left palm across your toes so that the palm faces out on the inner arch of your foot. I like to tuck my ring finger into my thumb. Then I like to bend my right leg more and then kick the foot into the hand and stretch the right arm forward. So it's all these opposing forces working together to create this balancing moment. Gaze steady on something that's not moving helps immensely. Nothing wrong with falling over either. When you're ready, coming up through center, if you can, bring the knee into the chest, just briefly straighten and then release. Nice job, you guys. You can shake out the hands, you can shake out the feet. Whew. Let's sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhale all the way down to the earth. Halfway lift to lengthen. Step back to downward dog and take your last vinyasa if you would like. A last vinyasa. We're going to meet actually on our bellies if that's accessible for you. Okay, and if you're not on your belly, you can come to your back. If you're not on your belly or your back, you can come to your seat. So we're going to do a little back bend. And we've been doing lots of preparation for bow pose, which is one of my favorite ones when my back feels a little bit out of alignment, because it just kind of pulls the back right in. And it works the shoulders and the quads and all kinds of things, and I love it. But it's the same shape as bridge, or camel. So if you're on your back, you can be doing bridge. And if you're in your seat, you can be doing camel. And again, it's essentially all the same stuff, just in different planes. So if you have a favorite, feel free to take that one. This one, when I can be on my belly, I actually really love. Okay, so let's just start with locust to get our bodies into the shape. So wherever you are, okay. Well, I'll give you different instructions depending on where you are. From your belly, interlacing your fingers, point the toes, lift the kneecaps up, press the pubic bone down. Gently lift the chest, hug the elbows, and lengthen the fists away from your head as we were doing before. You might want to add a little float of the feet as well this time if you'd like. If you're on your back, knees point up to the sky. You can start with your elbows in a robot shape, press your hips up to the sky, and then if accessible, you can interlace your fingers under you, and then we're kind of back in that same shape. If you're on your knees, just the same shape on your knees, just lifting your heart to the sky. And gently release after, if you can do 5 breaths, that's great. Returning to your seat or laying on your back or your belly, and just taking a few breaths to soften. You can do that exact same variation again, the one that we just did, or we'll try bow. Okay, holding on to the feet behind you. And you're gonna probably notice that your butt kind of sticks up a little at first, that's okay. In bow, you don't need to overly tuck your tailbone, but I do want you to just think about engaging the glutes a bit and engaging the core a bit, but we're not trying to tuck the tailbone. Hug the inner thighs a bit together. Okay, allow the shoulders to float back. Inhale, and as you exhale, press the feet into the hands, lift and lengthen. So it's like a double dancer's pose, kind of. Hugging the inner thighs, beaming the heart forward, and really allowing the legs to do the work of opening the shoulders. I actually like to do this a lot with my feet flexed and holding my ankles. Just a bit of a different feeling for me. Or you're in bridge or camel, which I'm not overly explaining, so I'm trusting you to be where you feel safe. And don't do anything that doesn't feel safe for you. One more breath if you can. And release. You can take your cheek or forehead to the earth or chin, relaxing the arms, relax the bum. If you're on your belly, you can wobble your hips from side to side. Okay, there's a nice little lower back release that we can do on the belly. So taking your arms into roughly a cactus shape. Bend your right knee up towards your right elbow. So you're in a pose called Sleeping Baby, and take a few nice deep breaths into your belly. If you're seated, you could do seated cat and cow. If you're on your back, you could hug your knees into your chest and rock side to side. These would all release the lower back. Okay, switch sides, straightening the right leg, looking to the left and sliding the left knee up. When you're ready, release that, wobble your hips a little bit, and then let's meet laying on our backs. So you can roll over. Some of you are already on your back, which is great. And if you need to stay seated, you can stay seated. Okay, simple twist, your favorite one, okay? Just gonna do simple supine twist here. So shift the hips a little to the left, pick up the knees and bring them to the right, allowing your left arm to open to the right. And if you're seated, you can just do a gentle seated twist, just turning to your left side. This should feel good. Okay, this shouldn't feel painful in any way. If it does, and you're in this shape with me, a block between the knees can really help. And or you could move the knees a little bit away from your face. Gently engage the belly, come through center. And shift to the other side. So hips shift a bit to the right, pick up the knees, and they come to the left. Right arm gently opens to the right. Again, block between the knees is great. You can move the knees down a little bit. Just make sure that you do have that inward curve in your lower back. If we try to twist with a rounded spine, usually the body will tell us, "Ugh, that doesn't feel so good." You always want the back, the lower back to be drawing in almost every twist. Gently engage the belly, come back through center, hug your knees in, and rock a little bit from side to side. So we're sort of getting short on time here, and I want to do one more hip opening pose before Shavasana, so that'll take us just a few minutes over. So just be aware of that. If you know that you have to go, you can take your Shavasana right now. Otherwise, thread the needle, taking your right ankle across your thigh, gently drawing in, flexing the right foot. This could be done seated as well. It's the same shape, just in a seat, and you've got your hands behind you. You could rock side to side or be still. Yeah, and if you know you have more time and you want to stay, that's great. Otherwise, gently release. I like to shake the legs up to the sky, and then you can take your opposite ankle across your thigh, just holding on to the back of the right thigh with the interlaced fingers, or a strap could be nice if the leg is a bit far away. Flexing the foot, maybe you're rocking, maybe you're still. And there's a bit of life in the feet. The feet are flexed, but otherwise it's a relatively relaxed pose. This is always, for me, a really nice one before Shavasana. It's just quite calming for me. Not for everybody, but I know a lot of people really like this one. It just kind of gets right into that spot in the hip. It tends to need a stretch. And again, taking your own sweet time. If you're feeling ready, you can gently release the legs. And then lastly, happy baby, knees wide, soles of the feet to the sky. Just a little rock from side to side. You could do that holding your knees too, if holding the feet doesn't feel right. Just kind of evening out the spine, preparing for Shavasana. And again, if you know that you have time and there's something that you want to add to your practice to feel complete with it, please feel free. Yeah, otherwise, we'll just come right into our Shavasana, whatever that looks like. So maybe it's a bolster under the thighs. Maybe it's just flopped out, laying on the back. Maybe it's laying on the side with a pillow. Maybe it's legs up the wall. Whatever your spaces where you feel like you can completely relax, or as completely as possible. That's the best place for a Shavasana. And when you get there, take a nice deep breath and receive. And again, if you have the time to stay in your Shavasana and you're enjoying it, I invite you to give yourself permission just to stay. And if you feel ready, you can begin to deepen your breath. And some small movements into your body. Gently rise to a seat that works for you. You could take your hands together to touch in front of your heart in that Anjali Mudra, which is a gesture of balancing the two halves. And in my experience, there are a lot more than two sides to us. And gently bowing the mind to the hands, the two halves, and also the multitudes of selves that are within us at any given moment. Honoring and acknowledging the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our yoga. Honoring and acknowledging the sacredness of the land that we practice on. Thank you for sharing that practice with me today.